Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today we are here with Cheyenne Adkins, who is a certified pharmacy technician and a past student of KLR Pharmacy Technician Training School. Cheyenne, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm actually glad to do this for you.
Yes, that's exciting. So Cheyenne, you went to the Excel Center. Tell me about your time at the Excel Center and kind of leading up to taking this course. What made you decide to take the pharmacy course?
Okay, so I started at University Heights in January of 2017. I was there until June where I actually graduated. I originally didn't take the technician class there. I actually got my certified business professional there. I think it was probably it was about 4 years later when I actually came back and took the certified pharmacy
That's right,
technician.
because you took it as a graduate, right?
Yep, I was the 3-year graduate.
Yes, that's awesome. So how'd you hear about it? What made you want to take it?
I always knew I wanted to be in some part of like the healthcare. I didn't want to go like registered nurse or anything. So I was like, okay, pharmacy technician seems pretty cool. And it's like, I always wanted to be on the inside of like the pharmacies. So I was like, okay, they have that there. I'm gonna take that.
That's awesome. So what was your experience with KLR Pharmacy Technician Training School? You took the class, what, 2018, 2019?
Nope, it was 2021.
Oh my gosh. I feel like it was so long ago. Okay.
Yep.
So that was last summer.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, you were my summer course last summer.
Yes.
Okay. What was your experience? What did you think of the class?
It was great actually. It was filled with everything that I needed to know, some extra stuff that I actually haven't used yet. So
awesome. And your class was actually pretty small because you were the summer session. And so I think we had like 9 to 12 people in your class, as opposed to like the 35 to 50 we have in most classes. So yeah, you got a smaller class. So that was kind of cool. So shortly after taking the class, Cheyenne, you landed your first job in pharmacy. What was that?
I was actually at CVS. I was there for a couple months. Their training is just very extensive. It's probably the longest training I've ever been through. It was like 3 or 4 weeks worth of like computer trainings. I hadn't even touched the floor yet.
Wow. Okay. And then you went somewhere else after that though, right?
Yep. I moved to Walgreens. They opened up a smaller shop. It was just a pharmacy only. They didn't have the in-store shopping. So we was just like a 3-row store, pharmacy only. Basic needs, like we didn't have a whole bunch of stuff. We just had like your basic medications and like all small stuff. I was there for a few months. It was actually pretty good. It was right in the middle of COVID. So, I mean, they was releasing the booster shots, flu shots all at once. So on a typical day, we was doing like 200-300 shots on top of and it was a mess, but I loved it. So.
And then you went where?
I actually went to work from home.
So okay, talk about that.
So it was under Cigna. I was actually under their specialty pharmacy for oncology. So I dealt with a whole list of like oncology drugs for our patients.
So tell the students who might not know, what is oncology?
So it's actually for our cancer patients. So it was our top priority. Like they were the main ones that we cared about at that point in time. Like they actually separated us up into like little groups. Like they had our little place for just cancer patients, and then you just had your regular people, like, you know, that was on typical medicines. I spoke to doctors' offices, some insurance companies. It just really just depends on the nature of what the call was. I hardly ever talked to patients unless I necessarily needed to have them reach out to the doctor. So I guess it wasn't like I'm always on the phone with the patient, you know.
Okay. So, but you said that was an at-home job, right?
It was.
So kind of what did your schedule look like? Like what happened if you needed training, or who was overseeing you, etc.?
So we had a 6-week training course. And then after they released us like on the floor, we had a mentor to where if we had any questions about something, we can go to them. They usually were like, I guess, a secondary like trainer.
Okay.
However, we usually go to them. If they didn't really know the answer, we would then go to the person that we reported to. 9 times out of 10, we normally really didn't have to do that because the mentors were there and they've known everything about it. So I really like that they did that because when you get on the floor and you kind of get into these things, they're just like, we didn't go over this in training. What do you do here? So,
And by on the floor, do you mean just on the computer?
yeah,
Okay.
that kind
So
of,
what did your schedule kind of look like?
my schedule was actually, my hours stayed the same, but we have different, they were like functions, we called them. Like we had, RXR, which is just RX request, where we would fill out request forms and then fax them to the doctors, and they would then fill them out, send them back, which would also fall into another function, which we called care, which is order entry, where another set of technicians would then type that up and get it ready for our in-house technicians to fill and our pharmacists to check. And then they would be sent.
So were your hours the same every day though?
Yeah. Well, so 4 days of the week, our hours were the same. We had one late day, which was an 11:30 to 8 p.m. shift, but they weren't really they were strict on it. But if you ever needed to switch a late day, like my late days when I was there was Mondays. If I ever needed to switch it for like a Wednesday or somewhere another day in the week, I could reach out to another technician and see if they would be willing to switch their late day with me. And 9 times out of 10, as long as you do it like 3 days in advance, 3 business days in advance, they would really give it to you. So they were
That's awesome.
strict, like you're stuck to this and you can't get out of it.
That's awesome. So what were you doing? Like, what were some of your main tasks other than like calling insurance companies and things like that during that role?
They really try to keep me in RXR and RX now, which is their faxing forms, because I guess because they do metrics, like they keep up with like how many you're processing within like a time frame. Since those were my two biggest, like my two highest ones, they always try to keep me in there to fax. I did DUR2 a few times, which is calling doctors' offices and patients. They didn't really keep me in order entry because they had technicians that they kind of kept in there. So, which I kind of liked it, because order entry is like, it's very precise.
Okay. Okay. And then after that position, where did you go?
I actually took a better paying position with FarmScript, which is also at home. So I'm still at home.
And that's where you're at now.
Yes.
So in less than a year, you've landed 2 from home positions for pharmacy technician.
Yes, and they are actually, I know for a fact right now, Cigna is still hiring. They are always hiring for on-site and at home.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what is your title at you're at Cigna?
No, I'm at FarmScript now.
Okay. And what's your title at FarmScript?
So here I'm a data entry pharmacy technician.
And what do you do?
I make no calls at all. I solely just put prescriptions in the system and get them ready to profile them, to save them for a later date, or I actually send them out to our in-house technicians to get them ready for a delivery. So
that's awesome. So did your work provide you with like a computer and all that?
yes, I have two, I think they're like 24-inch screens.
And so you just like sit in your living room or wherever and do your work?
Well, so with the at-home jobs, with it being under, I guess, the HIPAA guidelines, we can't be in an open space. You have to be in a room with a lockable door where nobody can like see your stuff, because HIPAA.
Yeah, interesting. That's interesting though. So you stay in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Okay. And what hours are you working now?
Right now I work, I'm actually second shift, so I work 3:30 to midnight.
Okay. Which brings me to my next thing that I want to talk about. That is how you are able to currently take another course, correct? And which course is that?
It's a certified billing and coding specialist with you.
Yes. So if you are not aware, KLR Pharmacy Technician Training School, guys, did expand this year, earlier this spring, and we opened KLR Certified Billing and Coding Specialist School. So Cheyenne, we're really excited. Do you remember the day you started? Cheyenne actually started this class late, but they emailed me and they were like, oh, hey, can someone join late? And I was like, who? Yeah, sure. What's the student name? And they're like, oh, it's Cheyenne Adkins. I was like, oh, yeah, bring her in here. She's going to do great. I already know her. So really exciting to have you in that class, and you're halfway done. That's exciting. Are you planning on using that? Are you planning on kind of combining that with pharmacy?
I don't really know yet. I was actually planning on combining it because why not?
Yeah,
Two different,
that's awesome.
why not do it?
Yes, that's really cool. Would you say that the pharmacy class and the billing and coding class are completely different or the same?
They're different in their own aspects, but they're also the same in their.
Yes. Yes, there it's a lot of work for both classes, I think, but and I think I try to run them very similar to each other, but very different material still, I would say.
Yes, very different, but still kind of. It's got the
Yes.
same.
Yeah. So, Cheyenne, you have had quite a bit of experience in pharmacy at this point in different areas. What are some things that you learned in our pharmacy class that you feel like you're using a lot as a pharmacy technician?
Math, definitely math, because these doctors, they like to throw you a script and on the directions, it's so weird. And you got to kind of know how to decipher them. You got to kind of know how to do the day supply and the quantity. And then you got to also understand that insurance companies don't like to cover what the doctor sends.
Yes, yes, there's your pre-authorizations right there. What else? Anything else that you're using consistently? I'm thinking of one other thing that you're probably using a ton.
I can't really, because with me being at home and not doing calls or not being actually in a
What
actual,
about your SIG codes?
no, I actually don't.
No?
No, when we get the prescriptions on our end, it's already like coded the way that no, like other people would see them. So I
Uh-huh.
don't like, two
You didn't even
tags.
see them. That's crazy. But you did see that like at Walgreens and CVS, right?
Oh yes, all the time. I've seen them all on
Yes.
prescription. And one thing that you really have to know as a pharmacy technician is these doctors write like chicken scratch.
Oh my gosh, for real. Like, I feel like any doctor, there used to be a long going joke where I worked that doctors have to like, they must have like a, a thing about being a doctor is you have to have like the worst handwriting ever. And you just actually, it's funny because as a pharmacy tech, I feel like you just kind of learn and you can literally look at a script and be like, this is the doctor that wrote this. I know exactly who this is. It'll have 10 doctors' names from that office on there, but you're like, I know whose handwriting this is. I know who wrote this and I know what it says. So I always think that's really funny because you do just kind of learn the doctor's handwriting as you go.
Definitely.
What advice would you give to students taking this course and heading into the pharmacy field? So new students, students who might take the course, as students who are currently taking the course, getting ready to take their big test and go work.
So taking the course leading into taking your exam, I definitely would recommend studying and taking a ton of notes. They don't let you take anything back, so it's kind of like you have to memorize it. Studying really will be your best friend.
Would you say that? So everybody, obviously, I'm sure you remember the notes portion is everybody's least favorite part about the class. But would you say that it paid off and helped?
It definitely pays off because if you're like, okay, I'm gonna write this down, or I'm gonna like write it down later, and then you end up forgetting to do it, and then you go and take this exam, and they're like, you can't take nothing back there. But this pen and paper that we give you, you see a question, and you're like, I was supposed to write that down, and now you're sitting there thinking like, I could be passing this question, but I didn't write it down. So,
Yep. So I didn't remember it as well. What any other information you would give to students getting ready to go into the working field?
going into the working field, one thing is just have a positive attitude. There are a ton of people out there that definitely feel entitled. They think they know your job better than you do. Um, they will be pushy, but don't be pushy back.
Just I
Try to.
think remembering, yeah, that these people are there for a reason. They're sick. They're probably having a really crappy day and really just trying to be compassionate and empathetic and just remembering that they probably have something going on, which is why they're there and why they're in a bad mood. What kind of advice would you give? Last question. What kind of advice would you give to those who might be looking for an at-home pharmacy technician position?
I say if you find one, go for it because they are slowly going away. I guess there's pros and cons to it. You're at home. You really don't use gas money to go to and from work. A lot of places I've noticed they do provide the equipment, some don't. The only thing is when they tell you that you need a lockable door, please get one because Indiana State Board of Pharmacy can come into your place anytime they want, and they can look at your setup.
That is really interesting. I didn't know that. I'm glad you shared.
Yes, I didn't know it either until I actually started with Cigna, and I was going through like it's kind of like the handbook thing and like all the requirements that you have to sign off on. And they said that State Board of Pharmacy can come in. They usually won't, but they can if they have any
If they
license.
can, yeah. I think I would be terrified if the Board of Pharmacy just showed up at my house.
When I heard that, I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this because I don't do.
I would feel like consistently in my house had to be immaculate too. I would be like, oh my gosh, what if the Board of Pharmacy comes in here in their black suits?
Yeah. So like my house is never 100% spotless. There's always something going on. And
For real, yes, mom life.
yes, and then like, what if these people just show up at my door in black suits? I'm thinking Men in Black, here we go. It's like,
Okay, well, I am really excited because I don't think we've had a couple people who've had some from home positions, but not as many and not as extensive as you have as a pharmacy tech. So it's really cool for the students to hear that. We appreciate you being here so much and thank you for sharing. You guys, if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. If you enjoyed this video and like to see more like it, please hit the thumbs up button on this video and we will see you back next week with more content. Thanks so much, Cheyenne.
You're welcome.